Paralyzed Millionaire's daughter never walked until she caught Maid doing something insane. The sun poured through the mansion windows, casting eerie shadows on the marble floor. It was in this luxurious prison that 17-year-old Ava Eldridge lived her life, confined to a wheelchair, with dreams of running free like a wild bird. Every day was a reminder of her reality: she couldn't walk. Doctors had long since given up hope, leaving her family's wealth to drown in what felt like an endless sea of despair. But everything changed the day she spotted something peculiar: her maid, Lila, moving differently, almost like a dancer but with a strange, unsettling grace that Ava's heart raced as she watched from her usual spot. Lila, usually so prim and proper, was moving around the garden, her long skirt twirling like ethereal smoke. It was as if she was casting a spell, and nothing about it felt ordinary. Birds fell silent around her, and the air thickened, pregnant with secrets. What was happening? Ava leaned forward, her breath hitching as she caught glimpses of something in Lila's hands: a shimmering crystal, glowing with an inner light that seemed to pulse, matching Ava's frenetic heartbeat. The weight of the room grew heavier, every second stretching into eternity. What was this enchantment? Ava's body felt a thrill, a tightness in her chest mixing painful hope with dread. She had read stories of fantastical forces, but witnessing the impossible firsthand sent chills down her spine. It was as if Lila was drawing energy from the earth, or perhaps from another realm. Ava's eyes widened. Could there be a chance for her? Could this strange woman hold the key to her freedom? Before she knew it, Lila caught her gaze, her eyes piercing through the illusion. There was no fear in Lila, only a knowing smile as the world around them shifted. Just as Ava opened her mouth to scream for her to stop, everything changed. The crystal exploded in a flare of light, and Ava felt something inside her stir, something she hadn't felt in years: a flicker of possibility. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Ava's mind raced, adrenaline shooting through her as she grasped for clarity. What spell was being cast? Would she dare to approach this enigmatic maid who seemed to summon something deep within her? There was an undeniable pull, a magnetic force beckoning her closer. With her heart pounding louder than ever, she whispered to herself, what if today was the day? The once mundane mansion felt alive, thrumming with a dangerous energy. But one question swirled in the air, thick with suspense: if she followed Lila, what would she uncover? Ava blinked against the afterimage of the explosion, her senses reeling. The air felt electric, charged with unexplainable energy that sent shivers racing through her body. Was this the moment she'd been waiting for? The aching desire to escape her confines surged within her, igniting a flame of determination she never knew she had. Lila, she gasped, her voice cracking through the tension of the moment. But Lila remained still, her figure seemingly suspended in a haze of shimmering light. She didn't move toward Ava; instead, she hovered, a smile playing on her lips, as if she knew a secret, a truth that could change everything. Ava's heart raced, caught in the whirlwind of emotions. Fear battled with hope; she was both terrified and exhilarated by what could happen next. She had to know. With a fragile sense of purpose, she pushed the wheels of her chair, inching toward Lila, the once familiar garden now transformed into a mystical realm. Can you help me? The words slipped out, carrying the weight of years spent in desperation. Lila's gaze met hers, deep, knowing. A flicker of something dark danced behind her eyes, but there was also a twinkling promise of liberation. Come closer, Ava. Lila's voice flowed like silk, soothing yet enigmatic. You can. You just have to take a leap of faith. Ava hesitated, biting her lip. Could she trust this woman who suddenly seemed so otherworldly? Yet, every tale she'd ever read echoed in her mind. The hero never found what they were looking for by merely sitting still. Gathering courage, she rolled forward, feeling a strange warmth radiating from Lila. As she approached, a hum filled the air, vibrating through her bones. Lila lifted her arm, and Ava's gaze fell to the crystal lying in the palm of her hand, now pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "This will help you," she breathed, her expression serious. "But understand, power comes with a price." Ava felt a chill creep into her core. A price? What kind of sacrifice would it demand? But the thought of being trapped forever was a more potent fear. Lila stepped closer, the light refracting off the crystal and cloaking Ava in a surreal glow. "Will you risk everything for a chance to walk?" Ava's heart thudded loudly in her chest. Could she dare accept such a monumental weight? Every doubt and insecurity flashed before her. What if she succeeded or failed? The stakes were dangerously high, yet the thought of continuing her life in this body motionless and voiceless was unbearable. "I'm ready," she declared, the empowerment swamping her fears. She would not let this chance slip away like all the others. Lila took a step closer. The crystal hovered between them, vibrating with potent promise. As the world around them faded into a soft blur of light and shadow, Lila leaned down and whispered, "Then you must remember, every wish has its risks." Ava barely had time to digest the warning when light engulfed her completely. A scream erupted from within her, rising up with an urgency as memories flashed, the joy of twirling in the grass, the rush of wind against her face, the taste of freedom. Then, sensations erupted in her legs, uncoiling like a spring. Was it real? With a gasp, Ava felt movement, but was it a dream or reality shifting beneath her? "What is happening?" Panic tinged her voice. Lila's expression darkened, and Ava could sense the danger lurking beneath this shimmering promise. "Focus on me. Only on me," Lila instructed, her voice no longer soothing, now edged with urgency. Ava's world began to spin, the thrill mixed with terror as shadows loomed over their moment. The mansion echoed with distant whispers. Dark secrets long buried were clawing their way back to the surface. What price would she pay? What did freedom truly mean, and at what cost? As her heart raced with the daunting intensity of the moment, Ava realized the path ahead was more treacherous than she anticipated. Would she clutch the light or be consumed by the darkness? All she knew was that this was only the beginning, and with every beat of her heart, her fate hung in the balance. But then, light burst like a star exploding in her chest, blinding her once again. Just when she thought she grasped her new reality, the ground shifted beneath her, and she felt herself begin to fall. What awaited her on the other side? Ava plummeted through the radiant light, her senses exploding in a kaleidoscope of sensations. As she fell, her body felt both weightless and heavy, every pulse within her throbbing in rhythm with her racing thoughts. "I'm falling. I'm really falling." Panic surged, filling her lungs with icy dread as the ground seemed to disappear, leaving her suspended in a world of light and shadow. But before she could grasp the reality of her surroundings, the brilliant glow suddenly dimmed. She landed soft, like a feather on grass, but the impact jolted her, a rush of energy flowing through her limbs. Ava blinked, adjusting to the lush scenery that now surrounded her. The garden had morphed, colors appeared brighter, sounds sharper. It felt like a dream. But there was no time to admire the beauty. She looked down, trembling as she stared at her legs. Her legs. They were there, solid and real. "It worked," she whispered, a rush of disbelief washing over her. She felt a strange power, a warmth thrumming in the muscles. With hesitant movements, she tilted her weight forward and tried to bend her knees. It was clumsy at first, but then she surged with determination. "Lila. I can." The words stumbled out of her mouth as she took her first step. The ground felt foreign beneath her feet, yet exhilarating. She was walking, no, she was standing on her own, but as her elation built, shadows crept back in. The ominous whispers from the house grew louder, curling around her like smoke. "Ava, you have to." Lila's voice echoed, but it wasn't comforting like before. There was urgency now, tinged with fear. "I can do this!" Ava shouted, lifting her legs, the movement thrilling. She began to walk, then jog. A laugh bubbled from her lips, rich with pure joy. It felt like flying, wind whipping through her hair, and for a moment, all thoughts of sacrifice and darkness faded away. "Focus, Ava." Lila's voice cut through the joyous haze. Ava froze, her heart jolting at the seriousness. "There are forces in play you don't understand. You are not alone in this, and they will come for you. Come for me." The words barely left her mouth before the peaceful garden shifted. The vibrant colors dulled, the air thickened, and a weight settled upon her shoulders. Panic clawed at her chest again. What did Lila mean? Suddenly, the shadows deepened around the mansion, figures creeping forth. They whispered enviously, their voices melding into a low hum that sent chills down her spine. Dark outlines surged toward her, an embodiment of her deepest fears. She staggered back, the thrill of walking dissipating like fog in the light. Without warning, Lila appeared at her side, the shimmer of magic flickering off her skin. "Ava. Now is the time to choose your path. Do you face the darkness, or do you run?" Ava felt a shiver of dread, reality crashing in her joy. The darkness was beckoning, swirling like ink across a page. She glanced at the figure's features obscured but echoed with malice. This was no ordinary confrontation, they were drawn to her, hungry and insatiable. "I want to let them take me," she declared, digging her fingers into the grass, drawing strength from the earth beneath her. But even as she proclaimed her stance, the chilling realization hit her: freedom means nothing if you can't protect it. She could run, but where would she go? "What's the price, Lila? What will they demand?" The question hung in the air, thick with unease. "Only you can decide," Lila warned, her eyes flickering with the weight of truths untold. "Every choice you make will echo back. What are you willing to sacrifice for the vision of your life?" Ava took a deep breath, her heart thundering. The shadows drew nearer, their whispers becoming a cacophony of tension. "I'll fight!" she shouted, feeling the determination ignite within. As the darkness swallowed the air, Ava moved forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. She had taken her first steps towards hope, but the looming uncertainty lingered. What awaited her in that fight? She could feel their eyes on her, could sense the crisp atmosphere thrum with an unseen pulse. Would she emerge stronger, or would she be consumed? With courage anchored in her heart, she took another step into the unknown. What would happen in this battle for her freedom? Would she rise or fall once more? Ava charged forward, determination surging through her veins, but doubt nipped at her heels. The last remnants of her joy were quickly consumed by the gathering darkness, the figures looming ever closer, insistent as shadows unmoored. She felt Lila's magic dancing around her, a comforting presence, yet the stakes were rising. "Stand tall, Ava!" Lila shouted, her voice sweet but fierce. "Remember who you are. You're not just a pawn in this game." "Right." Ava replied, throat dry but defiant. She squared her shoulders and breathed deep, trying to dispel the fear clawing at her chest. The figures coiled like smoke whispers, now a chant vibrating against her skin, sapping her courage. She could see the glints of their eyes, sharp and hungry, as they surrounded her. "Back off!" she yelled, trying to ground herself. But the shadows pressed on, a tangible force zipping her pulse. Each second felt like eternity, the tension in the air thick enough to slice through. "I want to let you take me." But as she declared her defiance, a wave of bitterness splashed over her, chilling her resolve. The mingled laughter of the shadows echoed off the walls of the mansion, twisting into a haunting symphony. Each note resonated in her gut, amplifying the weight of their malice. Suddenly, a gust of wind rattled the leaves, and for a fleeting moment, the shadows hesitated, as if they had respect for the spirit they sensed. "They fear you," Lila whispered, her eyes glimmering. "Use that." Taking a deep breath, Ava felt the warmth emanating from her limbs, the strength beginning to pulse with a life of its own. With renewed conviction, she surged forward, her feet pounding against the ground. As she stepped into the mass of shadows, she felt something unbelievable, a shift. It pulsed beneath the surface, a current pushing against the darkness surrounding her. "Stand your ground," Lila urged, her hands trembling with anticipation. "Channel your will." Ava closed her eyes for just a moment, envisioning everything she had fought for. The time she had spent locked in silence, dreaming of this moment, the memories of laughter, love, and all the warmth the world had given her. She pictured a light, it was hers, a beacon against the darkness. With all her might, she opened her eyes and thrust out her hands. "I am here. I am alive." The words blazed with an incandescent energy that radiated outwards. A shockwave rippled through the air, scattering the shadows like autumn leaves before a storm. They recoiled, their whispers faltering into silent dread. For a heartbeat, Ava felt invincible, a warrior crowned by light. But then a chilling realization. This was not the end, it could not be. "Remember, Ava, the price." Lila's voice warned, but before Ava could process it, the shadows began to twist again. This time, they morphed into figures mimicking faces of loved ones, friends, and old adversaries. Each visage sunk into a deep frown, eyes glistening with unspoken words. "What will you let them take from you?" they taunted, their once comforting tones now laced with a cruel edge. Ava faltered, the warmth draining from her body. "No. You're not real," she shouted, but doubt began to creep through her resolve, icy fingers clutching at her heart. How could she fight against manifestations of her own guilt and fears? "Face them, Ava," Lila yelled, a fierce determination rising in her voice. "Your past is part of you, but it doesn't define you." Ava swallowed, the lump in her throat sharp. She could see her mother's face, a kind smile twisted into a warning, her father's frown heavy with regret. "I'm not afraid of you," she yelled, the contradictory fear and anger surging through her. With a deep breath, she pushed forward once more, preparing to confront the shadows, but doubt shimmered and threatened to unravel her. What if she didn't have what it took? The figures pressed closer, their whispers echoing the doubts she held within herself. "We'll take you back, you know we can," they hissed like serpents. Ava's breath hitched as she braced herself against the onslaught. She could feel the ground trembling beneath her, the very fabric of reality shivering with the weight of her decision. "I want to let you decide my fate," she declared, steeling herself, but before she could act, a figure stepped from the shadows, its outline shimmering like water. The features sharpened into focus, a familiar face, one long thought lost. "Ava, it's time to truly wake up." Who was this figure? What did they mean? And could she trust them? The pressure crescendoed, and in a single moment, everything hung in balance. Would this figure be a guiding light or another trap woven by deceit? Ava stood at a precipice, ready to dive deeper into the heart of the storm. What awaited her on the other side of this confrontation? Hope, despair, or a new nightmare? Ava's heart thundered as the figure emerged, each second stretching into an eternity. The familiar face shimmered uncertainly, flickering like an old film reel, and as she squinted to focus, recognition flooded her. "Is it really you?" Her voice trembled, hope and trepidation mingling in her chest. "It's me," the figure whispered, and with each word, they seemed to solidify, becoming more vibrant. Her grandmother stood before her, radiant even in the shadows. "But you need to listen. The darkness is feeding on your fear." Ava's resolve wavered, memories of warm embraces and soft-spoken wisdom rushing through her mind. "I've fought so hard, I thought you were gone forever." "Not gone," her grandmother replied, concern lacing her voice. "Always with you. But now, you must confront the shadows. They thrive on your insecurities." "I know," Ava spat, frustration boiling within her. "But how?" "They're taunting me with every weakness I've ever had. Using your pain against you. But remember, Ava, only you have the power to turn that pain into strength," her grandmother urged, stepping closer, reaching for Ava's hand. You are stronger than you know. The shadows hissed, their whispers turning frantic, an ominous harmony of despair echoing through the air. They're lying. Trust only us. We will deliver you peace. No. Ava shouted, shaking her head, clenching her fists so tightly her nails bit into her palms. I know the truth. Then fight. You can't let them control you, her grandmother encouraged, but even as those words left her lips, the shadows surged forward, faces shifting into grotesque masks of twisted memories. They echoed Ava's moments of despair, each defeated dream and lost opportunity taunting her, ensnaring her in a web of regret. What's the price? Ava shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. What am I supposed to sacrifice to defeat you? Silence enveloped her as the shadows froze, their ghastly forms stilling as if considering her question. Everything, they hissed, or nothing, your choice. A chill settled deep within her bones as anxiety gripped her heart. I won't give you anything. She screamed, every ounce of her soul pushing against the darkness. You don't own me. Lila's voice rang out, fierce and unwavering. Ava. Remember your light. It's not about sacrifice but embracing who you truly are. The ground trembled beneath her once again, shaking loose the doubt embedded in her core. Ava took a deep breath, drawing from the warmth within her, calling upon the love that had always supported her. I am enough. I will not be defined by your darkness. I am here to fight. And with that, she flung her arms wide, unleashing a surge of light. It erupted from within, consuming the shadows, the echoes of her fears shattering into a million pieces. They screamed as they disintegrated, but something echoed back to her, a voice, familiar, pulling her back into the depths of her own turmoil. No. Not again. You can't escape. The shadows roared, reforming into a swirling mass, dense and suffocating. Ava. Her grandmother cried, reaching out now with a hand stretched through the void. Fight. Ava's heart raced as she locked eyes with her grandmother, realization dawning. She felt the connection, something deep and unbreakable. In that instant, she understood. I choose to fight for my life, for my love, and for you. The energy around her pulsed with intensity. It felt like a chain snapping free, a release of pent-up courage igniting within her. Dinner tables, birthdays, car rides, laughter, memories of a life filled with hope flooded into power. But just as the darkness began to disperse, a final scream clawed through the air. You may think you've won, but this isn't over. You're merely delaying the inevitable. Ava stumbled back, adrenaline surging as she fought to maintain her ground. The remnants of the shadows lingered, swirling angrily before pulling together into one monstrous form, bloated with rage and ferocity. With steely determination lighting her eyes, Ava knew she still had one fight left to go. The shadows may be retreating, but they were not defeated. Bring it on. She yelled, with the stakes higher than ever. She prepared for the battle to come, a confrontation that would not only decide her fate but that of everyone she loved. An all-out war against the very essence of her fears loomed just ahead. What ancient truths would they uncover? And could she truly ascend beyond the darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path? Ava steadied herself, heart pounding like a war drum. The monstrous shadow twisted and morphed, a hideous amalgamation of her past traumas, all the things she wanted to forget. She focused on her grandmother's outstretched hand, desperate for that anchor of love and warmth, yet feeling the chill emanating from the shadows that loomed ever closer. Remember who you are, her grandmother urged, her voice cutting through the oppressive gloom like a beacon. You have the strength they fear. With each step she took, the shadow writhed, its voice a low hiss that reverberated in the depths of her mind. You're worthless. You'll never be enough. Why even try? Ava felt her breath quicken, a tightness wrapping around her chest. Stop! She yelled, fury lighting her from within. She surged forward, embodying the resolve of every moment that had shaped her. I refuse to be defined by my failures. The air shimmered, and a force surged from her core, pushing against the shadows. Ghostly hands reached out, grasping at her, trying to pull her back, but she would not relent. All her lost dreams and dark times transformed into energy, as bright as the sun breaking through storm clouds. "I am not my fear," she screamed. Colors exploded around her, a rainbow of light that pierced through the veil of darkness, scattering shadows like leaves in a fierce wind. The whispers turned to howls, the monstrous form recoiling, but it wouldn't disappear. "Not yet. What do you think you've accomplished?" The shadow sneered, thick anger dripping from its words. "This is only a temporary measure." The battle inside her raged, but beneath the fear, another feeling bubbled: hope. Memories clashed against pain, every support she'd ever known, the warmth of love flooding through her veins. She thought of Lila, of her grandmother, and all the moments of joy that had slipped through her fingers too many times to count. Her breathing steadied. "If this is a fight you want, then I'll give you one you won't soon forget," Ava declared, her voice rising, resonating with a power she didn't realize she possessed. She stretched her arms wide again, and light poured forth, blanketing the room as though it was illuminating both her past and future, but the shadow lurched forward one last time, a final act of defiance, darkness swirling thicker, threatening to consume the light. Ava's heart raced, she was running out of time. "Fight back," she urged herself, eyes locked in fierce determination. Summoning every ounce of strength, she transformed fear into defiance. With a sweeping motion of her arms, she called forth the brightness within, the very essence of her heart, matched the shadow's ferocity. Light erupted from her, radiant and undeniable, and she felt warmth flood her body. Ava's burst of power surged against the shadow, colliding in a stunning explosion of light and dark. The shockwave rippled through her, and she roared with newfound confidence that in the midst of this chaos, a crack opened in the shadow's form, revealing a strange, glowing symbol within. It pulsed rhythmically, as if it had a heartbeat. Ava felt a pull, a connection that urged her to investigate. "Is that?" she whispered, hesitating. The symbol felt oddly familiar. Was it a piece of her past she had buried deep within? Before she could make sense of it, the shadow shrieked, the sound piercing and chaotic, threatening to drown out everything else. "You'll regret this. Every choice has its price." And with that, the darkness licked at her heels, retreating but never fully gone. She took a step back, breathless, her mind racing. What did that symbol mean? Could it be a way to confront the darkness for good? And what would she have to face now that the battle was only beginning? Ava felt the weight of her choices heavy on her shoulders, each one leading her deeper into a daunting unknown. As the echoes of the shadow faded, she realized this wasn't just a confrontation, it was a journey into the roots of her fears, a chance to confront the very essence of what made her feel powerless. Whether she wanted it or not, she was about to uncover the darkness' true origin. Would she be ready to accept whatever truths lay hidden beneath the surface? Or would she let fear rob her of the victory she was so close to claiming? Ava's heart pounded against her ribs, thrumming like a wild drum as the remnants of the shadow faded into a thick mist. Yet, its foul stench lingered, a stinging reminder of the terror that had just danced so close to claiming her. She found herself standing in the dim light of the room, panting, her senses humming as the warmth from her defeat of the darkness began to cool. The glowing symbol pulsed softly, a beacon amidst the encroaching shadows, urging her to get closer. "What are you?" she whispered, entranced. The symbol seemed almost alive, breathing like a tiny creature nestled in the folds of her former fears. Without thinking, she reached out, fingers trembling with uncertainty. The moment her fingertips brushed the symbol, a jolt shot through her. It was electric, sending ripples of warmth racing through her entire being. Visions flashed before her eyes, fragments and memories she thought long buried, shining with clarity. She saw her childhood, the laughter of her friends mingling with the looming shadows of her insecurities. She felt the stinging loss every word, every moment when someone had extinguished her light, ringing loudly in her mind. "Embrace me," a voice whispered, slithering around her thoughts like a caress. Unsure whether to recoil or surrender, she pressed deeper into the warmth. With each beat of the cymbal, her surroundings flickered, the walls of the room beginning to dissolve around her like ink in water, and then she was falling not down, but into herself. She plunged into the depths of her memories, the darkness chasing her, wrapping her in sticky tendrils. She could feel pain rising as fragmented scenes erupted like fireworks. Faces danced just beyond her reach. Lila, her grandmother, their smiles twisted into masks of worry. "Stop!" she cried, unwilling to allow the past to drown her any longer. As the memories threatened to pull her under, she remembered the power she had called forth, a light burning bright amidst the encroaching shadows. With every ounce of strength, Ava summoned that light again, and it blazed brilliantly, scattering the dark memories. She realized the truth: she could choose which moments to carry forward and which to let go. Each pulse from the glowing symbol resonated with her, and in the sacred silence, she felt clarity wash over her. This wasn't merely an artifact, this was her truth. It embodied her past, but it did not define her future. With newfound resolve, she pushed herself up, seizing onto the memory of her grandmother's words. "I am more than the pain," she shouted, the voice echoing with defiance. The light inside her exploded outward, bathing the memories in warmth. The darkness shrieked in revolt, swirling around itself like a storm as the warmth pressed upon it, but in the chaos, something shifted. The symbol flickered ominously, growing dimmer. Panic surged through her. Was she losing control? Was she about to be consumed again? "Focus!" she urged herself, battling the rising tide of fear. In a surge of adrenaline, she grasped the symbol more firmly. Suddenly, she saw it: the key. It wasn't a simple object. It was a passage, a door into the depths she never dared to explore. "Where do you lead?" she murmured, breathless as she felt a deeper connection wrapping around her heart. A booming voice cascaded through her mind, filling her with both dread and exhilaration. "Face what you buried and then choose your path. But beware, Ava, every choice has its price." As twilight enveloped her, she found herself standing at a precipice. A choice lay ahead that would define her next step. The shadows hissed and beckoned as the light began to wane. Could she walk through the shadow of fear one more time, or would she turn away, abandoning the potential that was just within reach? Every heartbeat echoed a reminder of courage, but the weight of uncertainty loomed heavy. What lay beyond that door? Would she emerge triumphant or be swallowed by the darkness again? The answer glimmered ahead, ready for her to grasp if only she could take that leap. Ava edged closer to the glowing symbol, her breath hitching in her throat as she felt the chill crawl up her spine. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of fear and enticing promises. "Will you face it?" they seemed to ask, taunting her from the abyss. The light flickered again, each pulse growing weaker. Her heart raced. She had to decide now. With determination coursing through her veins, she took a deep breath and stepped into the glowing portal that had opened in front of her. As she crossed the threshold, she tumbled into a swirling vortex of color and darkness, memories crashing over her like tidal waves. She was no longer in her room. She stood in a long-abandoned playground. From her childhood, swings creaked in the breeze, and laughter echoed faintly in the distance, taunting her. "Just memories," she murmured, trying to steel herself against the undermining whispers of doubt. Suddenly, a shadow flickered near the old merry-go-round. Her heart jumped, instincts kicking in. "Is it you?" Ava called, feeling the shadow tremble at the sound of her voice. Resolutely, she approached the source of the sound, dread pooling in her stomach. It shifted, dark and familiar, and she squinted to discern its shape. There it was, the unmistakable outline of her past, looming larger than life, the versions of herself who had succumbed to fear, self-doubt, and loneliness. "Let us go," cried one shadow, its voice dripping with venom. "You can't bury us. We are you." She recoiled, the word striking true. Those were the moments she had tried so hard to forget, painful memories of rejection and isolation. But instead of shrinking back, she planted her feet in the recess of her toddler playground. "No. You do not own me. She shouted, channeling the warmth that had brought her to this point. I am not afraid anymore. With every word, she held tighter onto the glowing symbol, summoning its light. It flared to life, illuminating the playground in brilliant hues, chasing away the shadows of her past. They writhed and shrieked, their forms dissipating in the glow as she channeled her anger into clarity, and then the playful laughter returned, bright and enchanting. Children appeared in the distances, wildly swinging and laughing. It was the life she had buried deep beneath the weight of her burdens. A flicker of warmth blossomed in her chest as the light enveloped her. No more hiding, she whispered, her voice almost reverent as she watched the shadows dissolve into nothing. But then an unexpected jolt coursed through the air. A deep rumble echoed, plunging her once more into darkness. The laughter faded, replaced by a chilling silence. Ava stumbled, disoriented. What had she done? Choices have their price. The ominous voice returned, louder now, echoing in her ears. The shuddering shadow reformed behind her, larger than before. And you've awakened what was meant to sleep. Panic surged through her. She spun around, half expecting to see something monstrous rising from the ground. The darkness lunged, tendrils snaking toward her, and she felt it grasp at her legs, pulling her down. Her screams echoed as she fought against the grip of despair. Choose. The voice boomed, drowning out her cries. Will you turn back into the light, or face what lies ahead? Trembling, Ava felt the weight of the moment pressing heavy on her chest. She had conquered shadows before, but could she do it again? Would she dare to take that step into unknown darkness? The choice loomed before her, a precipice leading to a realm she had only begun to comprehend. What awaited on the other side? Would it be liberation or entrapment? With her heart racing and the shadows roaring, she stood at the brink. And before she could fully grasp her next move, a flash of blinding light erupted, swallowing her whole. The light consumed her, pulling her deeper into the abyss. For a brief moment, Ava felt suspended in time, weightless as if she was no longer tethered to her fears or her past. But then, she landed hard on the ground, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. Gasping, she instinctively pushed herself up, her heart racing in her chest. The world shifted around her, settling into a darkened space that seemed both foreign and familiar. Brooding shadows filled the corners, twisting into shapes that danced just out of reach of her vision. Where am I? She breathed, the echo of her voice swallowed by the oppressive silence. As she gathered her bearings, Ava noticed glowing symbols etched into the walls, casting eerie patterns of light across broken tiles. Each symbol sparked a memory, a feeling of dread that pierced her chest. She realized she had crossed into a realm where the consequences of her choices manifested, brought to life by her own fear. Walking hesitantly forward, she felt the weight of eyes upon her. Whispers echoed, hissing through the air. You've come to play again, Haven Tu. They were mocking, taunting her, as shadows shifted and elongated, wrapping around her ankles like living chains. No. Enough. She shouted, but her voice faltered against the mounting darkness. With each step, the ground felt more unstable, as if it could give way at any moment. She knew this wasn't just her childhood playground anymore, it was a twisted reflection of her mind, a hazardous maze built from regret and anxiety. A flash of movement caught her eye. Just ahead, a figure flickered in the darkness, a girl, almost her age, with bright, haunting eyes that glimmered like stars in the night sky. You shouldn't have come here, the girl warned, her voice eerily calm amidst the chaos. This isn't a game. You can't escape the truth of who you are. Who are you? Ava stammered, a chill creeping up her spine. I'm what you could have been. The girl stepped closer, her form shifting like smoke. You play it safe, while I took risks. You bury your demons, I dance with mine. Can you imagine the power you could wield if you faced them? The shadows grew restless around her, hungry for Ava's response. The air thickened with unresolved tension, the whispers a symphony of her own failures replaying like a grotesque film. Each breath felt heavier, and she clutched her chest, trying to calm the storm inside. What are you? Ava managed to ask, half fearing the answer. I'm everything you fear. I'm the life you could have lived, the girl said, a cruel smile breaking through the shadows. You wanted to hide from pain, but pain can be the ultimate teacher. This place it's calling for you to confront the truth. Ava wavered, torn between the fear of a past that loomed over her and the promise of something more. The shadows coiled tighter, their whispers growing frantic. Choose. They hissed, pressing against her mind, overwhelming her senses. Face your nightmares or return to your light, the girl insisted, her gaze locking onto Ava's. Either way, the choice is yours. Lightning crackled through the space, illuminating the girl's face for just a moment. Something in those haunting eyes gave Ava pause. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her, heavy and suffocating. The darkness swelled, a living entity breathing down her neck. Don't run away, came the girl's voice, almost a plea. Ava felt that pull from her past, her hesitation chaining her to her doubts. But deep down, there was a flicker of hope, a whisper urging her to stand firm. What was she willing to confront? Would she finally break the chains? As shadows gathered, they lunged at her, the choice hanging in the air like a tightrope strung between realms. Ava took a deep breath, feeling flames of determination flicker to life inside her. And in that moment of courage, she would have to decide what would she confront next. Ava stood at the edge of her choices, the gravity of her fears swirling around her like storm clouds. The shadows pressed against her, taunting her, whispering dark truths about what she could have been if fear had not chained her to the past. An unnerving familiarity washed over her as she faced this alternate self, the embodiment of regret and unrealized potential. Why are you so afraid? The shadow girl asked, her voice sweet with the lure of temptation. What if facing the darkness brings you the freedom you crave? A shiver raced down Ava's spine. The memories, the pain, the failures were alive around her, an echo of everything she had ever buried deep within. But the flicker of hope that had ignited inside her refused to die. The warmth of every laugh, every moment of joy surged through her like an unquenchable fire. I'm not afraid. Ava shouted, her voice resonating with newfound strength. I refuse to let you define me. The shadows recoiled, and for a heartbeat, silence reigned. Ava seized her moment, stepping forward into the heart of the darkness. The flickering symbols on the walls glimmered in response, lighting her path as she faced the figure that represented the parts of herself too scared to stand tall. I am more than just my fears. Ava declared, feeling the weight of her desires pressing against the shadows. I'm alive, and I choose to embrace all of who I am. The shadow girl's expression shifted, doubt flickering behind her eyes. You think you can fight me? What about the darkness inside you? What about the pain you've ignored? Ava hesitated, her resolve momentarily shaken. But deep down, she understood what she needed to confront. I won't run from it anymore. She yelled, extending her arms outward. Every scar, every memory makes me stronger. She felt a powerful wave of light erupt from her core, sending radiance dancing across the room. The shadows shrieked, twisting violently, but Ava pressed forward. She knew this was more than a battle of strength, it was a revelation of identity. I am filled with light, love, and resilience. I will not be defined by the darkness. With each word, the shadows pulsed, cowering at her brilliance. The glowing symbol resonated with her truth, flaring with energy as memories flooded back, friends who had supported her, laughter shared in the sun, the warm hugs from her grandmother. Every connection ignited strength within her. I'm not perfect, and I won't pretend to be. But I am worthy of every step I take. As if summoning the greatest power she had ever held, she closed her eyes, channeling every ounce of hope into the overwhelming light pouring from her. The shadowy figure wailed as the brightness surged, scattering the darkness like a gust of wind through autumn leaves. No. You cannot escape. It roared, but the light wielded by Ava was fierce, engulfing everything in its path. With one final push, she drove the radiance into the heart of the shadow, shattering it into 1,000 fragments. Each shard glimmered briefly, then dissolved into the ether, returning to the light from which they had come. Silence enveloped her, the remnants of shadows fading into whispers. Eva opened her eyes, expecting to feel broken, but instead, she was whole. The weight that had pressed upon her spirit evaporated, unfurling hope like a flower blooming in spring. She felt rejuvenated, filled with a sense of clarity and purpose. "Thank you for helping me find my truth," she whispered to the now-gone figure, allowing the warmth of gratitude to wash over her. As she turned away from the remnants of her past, the space around her began to shift. The darkness melted into a canvas of light, and she felt the walls of her own fears give way to a new reality. Eva stepped forward, one foot leading to another, each one confident and free. Emerging from the depths, she gripped the crystal Lila had given her, understanding its true purpose. It was not a token of magic, but a symbol of her own strength, a reminder of what she could attain when she embraced her reality, fears included. "Ava." Lila's voice reached her from the entrance of a new dimension, filled with brilliant colors and light. "You've made it. You did what was needed. You faced the shadows." Ava smiled, her heart soaring. "I found my way. And I'm not looking back." With each step she took into her new life, she felt the embrace of hope. The mansion faded behind her like a distant memory, and she stepped into the brightness ahead, ready to seize her future on her own terms. With an open heart, this was a new beginning, and as Ava turned once more, she felt the strength of the extraordinary energy she had uncovered. "I am Ava Eldridge," she declared, loud and proud, "and I will walk my own path. This is your chance." If you enjoyed this conclusion and want more wild stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let the world bounce to the beat of this story. Flood the comments section with your thoughts about Ava's journey, and what you think is going to happen next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this magic. Your support is everything. Let's keep the storytelling alive.